you?
Hey, hello, hi, good afternoon, Janet. How are you doing?
I'm good. And I think we already have Andal. She's saying hello. Have you met Andal previously when you
Hey.
went to Malaysia?
And not really. Hey, Andal, how are you doing?
Yeah. So today we are very glad to actually have Vineet online with us. We will share a little bit about his background as to how he came into the corporate world a little later. And in the episode itself, because it was interviewed almost a month ago, it was really about how COVID-19 affected Thailand, where he is based right now, although Vineet is originally from India. So we will find out a little bit from Vineet a little later on. So Vineet, how have you been?
I've been pretty good, Janet. How are things? I heard Singapore is more tough as far as COVID-19 scenario is concerned.
I think Thailand had a lockdown earlier than Singapore, but it was actually extended. So right now, our circuit breaker is until 1st of June. And apparently during the latest news conference, I think things will definitely not go back to normal. There will still be restricted movement just for safety sake. What about in Thailand? How's the situation in Thailand right
Thailand has
now?
been, in fact, Thailand has dealt with this situation very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be surprised that there has not been a single day of lockdown in Thailand. Not a
Oh,
single day lockdown. So offices have been running as normal. Thai companies have been working. And the only thing is that they have done a lockdown from evening 7 to morning 7 initially. And
mm-hmm.
then they took it to evening 10 to morning 7. And they took some measures like closing down the shopping malls, closing down the market places or places where socially you could, gather.
Right.
No, and I think so. I'm I've come to know that the cases are almost zero now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I think on our end, I think the local transmission in terms of the community is less. But I think because of, you must have heard the dormitory site, so they are actually doing active testing there. So in terms of the numbers, it's still quite a large number. I think that's why the government is taking quite a bit of precautions. Now, then back to your business. I think before that, when I was doing the interview, you were already telling me in fact, with COVID-19, it's actually been a pretty busy time for you. And before we came online, you're saying it gotten even busier. Could you share a little bit more?
Great. So one is, definitely COVID has really disrupted the way business is being done. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
So COVID has definitely disrupted the way business is being done. People are really thinking in a different manner. And, I would say that overall, right now, there was a wait and watch scenario initially because everybody was waiting and watching. Then slowly things started evolving to the next level where some companies or let's say the industries have really taken a different approach where they have kind of went into a cocoon and they're reorganizing, re-strategizing things. Let's take industries like travel and tourism, whether it's online Airbnbs of the world or it's the hotel chains, especially in Southeast Asia, you have a lot of these hotel groups. Or third, it is companies which are related to travel and tourism, like VFS Global, who are mainly on the visa businesses and all. So they are really, affected in a big time. And I would say it's a real threat for these kind of businesses and they need to really come out of it. At least I pray that they come out of it very fast and everything is back to normal.
Right.
With at least, some people are saying invention of the vaccine is going to solve this problem. Some people are saying it's going to take 3-4 months more to get to the new normal where people start traveling. Now there are other industries like BFSI, banks, insurance companies, and stuff. They have really, adopted, and to my surprise, they have started really being agile, and they have started adopting, digital technology very nicely. So if you see in last 2 months, whatever business we have done, most of it came from the banks and the insurance companies. And there are reasons for that, because they understood that, workforce connectivity, managing a disintegrated workforce is a very big challenge. One. Second is training the new workforce, because earlier you had banking was all about personal, right? You have a personal touch, or insurance, a insurance agent is coming to you and convincing you due to his personal skills that this is something good for you. But now there's a new challenge, but there's no personal connection. So either you have to train them to be in the telemax now, like do telecalling and all, and convince to sell, which is again a big change for them. Like for people like you and me, it may not be a big change, because
Right.
we're pretty, pretty educated. We have good communication skills. But for imagine an insurance person or a salesperson at a grassroots level, at a ground level, it's a huge change he's going through. So that's the reason they are evolving and adopting very fast. And the third industry is, of course, the training and consulting firms or the event organizers. You see, they have been one of the quickest to evolve, where
Yeah.
everything they have taken to online. Like most of our training and consulting partners in Southeast Asia were the first ones to evolve, quickly understand that now the training will happen in a different way. It's no more going to be classroom. It's going to be a blended approach. We need to have smart tools. We need to have tools which can really engage and keep that business standard to of a level of the delivery which they're used to. So
Right.
different players are reacting different ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, Vineet, will come back to you on asking you as to how the banks and the insurance companies are actually adopting, like what you mentioned, in terms of connectivity, especially for them, it's a huge remote workforce. So now I'm actually just going to run through today's topic. Basically, today today in terms of the chat, we will have the live chat immediately after the episode premiere.
Yeah.
So please do key in your questions in the chat box. If you are coming in from YouTube from a desktop, do key in your questions actually towards the right hand side of the screen. If you are coming in from the mobile phone, please key in the questions that you have at the bottom of the screen. Now, to key in your chats, please do log in, because I have some feedback that they were not able to key in their questions. That's because you actually have not logged in into the account to be able to do so. Now, let's go through today's agenda. Right now, we are at 1:59. So we have started off by welcoming and chatting with Vineet. At 2 p.m. exactly, we'll be playing the episode premiere. Then after the episode premiere itself, we'll go into live chat, Q&A, and at 2:30, it will end. But of course, if there are more questions coming in, Vineet, you're okay to actually carry on answering some questions afterwards, right?
Sure, I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. So now, while we are actually going into 2 o'clock, let me just introduce Vineet a little. Vineet has been actually an army officer in the parachute regiment, like I mentioned earlier. And after that, he has actually, because of some injury, got caught and had to pivot into the corporate world. Has done several businesses, as well as right now he's actually in Disprz, an AI capability development platform business. So I'll share more when we come back, because right now we are exactly at 2 and I should be playing the episode premiere. So Vineet, I'm going to hide you for a little while, and then we'll come back to you a little later.
Sure, Janet, sure.
Thank you. Hi. Welcome to the Leadership During Crisis Online Summit series. Thank you for taking your time to watch these episodes. Please remember to subscribe at our YouTube channel. We will be releasing the episodes 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesday, Friday at 2 p.m. Why or what led to the crisis in your situation?
So you're hinting at way back, right? When out of my teens, I almost joined the army. I come from a very defense background. So my father and mother both were army officers. So I always dreamt about, joining the armed forces. So that's how I joined the army at the age of 19 and a half. And I was part of the parachute regiment, special forces. That was the way of life for me, being in the uniform, doing things which are completely different. After doing about 6.5 years in the army, I had a severe parachute injury. I had literally broken my leg and I had to go through ACL replacement. And that kind of made me really handicapped. That means I couldn't even run for about 10 meters. So that was a time when I had to really take a big decision that whether to continue in the army and move on to the administration side. So it's like you're no more fit to be in the army. But still, just because the army wants to give you a job, you need to continue. I took a tough call and I decided that since I'm no more fit, so I'll venture out into the corporate space, look for a job in the outside world, the so-called outside world that time. It was really outside for me because I was never used to, even walking into an office or, even living in a city. That's where I prepared for an MBA. And then I went to one of the best B schools and completed my MBA. And I started working on the IT side.
I think all your life, like you said, your parents are army officers, right? And you were a captain already at that point in time. Can you go through like what was in your mind when you were in the hospital bed? Because if we look at the COVID-19 situation right now, a lot of people will be losing their jobs. They have to probably psych themselves up to explore something new. What went through your mind? How do you pick up the courage?
So when actually I decided to venture into something totally different, what went into my mind was that I had done a lot of things which were really tough, like being a captain in the army and stuff. So I had that confidence which was installed in me from a very young age that I could, overcome these odds. So that's one great thing which organizations like, defense forces do to you. They kind of give you a very high level of confidence. Second, I was ready to kind of experiment and reinvent. So when I say ready to experiment and reinvent, I was a risk taker.
You mentioned that because of your army training, it gave you the confidence and the risk-taking attitude. But there might be people who have been specialized in their fields for a long period of time. What kind of advice do you think they can basically jump out of their comfort zone?
So exactly, the word which you mentioned, comfort zone, is a great word with which you ended. See, what happens when we get into our normal routines is that we go into a comfort zone. And we also build up a roadmap. Let's say in 1 year, I'm going to do this. In 2 years, I'm going to achieve this, whether it's, some professional benchmarks or personal benchmarks. And then we also try to go a step ahead where we are trying to prove things to others, right? So the main thing what I feel is that, in such situations, you should always have plans, but you should not have fixed plans, right?
Okay.
So work towards your plan, but never be fixated that this will happen at so and so time or it is going to happen in 2 years. So you have to be very flexible, very adaptable. And the right word for us is agile. You have to be super agile today you want to survive. Because what industry is very relevant now might totally become irrelevant in 2 to 3 years. What job you feel today is super important in a company and it gives you super safety, after 2 years it may be that that job is no more needed or it's totally irrelevant. So you have to be always on the edge. Like you never can say that, oh, I am in my comfort zone and this is what I plan for next 2 to 5 years and this is how life will take me. You always have to live on the edge and you'll always have to be prepared for changes. Now those changes might be professional changes, sometimes personal changes relating to health and other things. Now, when you take the situation of COVID, right, a lot of people would have planned their lives in a certain way. Now it throws a new set of challenges. Start from the basics. Work from home. You're not used to that. Second, boredom. How do you keep yourself motivated? How do you ensure that you're really engaged? You're part of the ecosystem where you're working. Because everybody is or might be feeling a little low, right, these days, totally working in isolations and all. So there again, what I feel is that one, you should value what you're doing. You should also connect it to what you're doing, how it will impact your team or the organization. And third is you have to, kind of speak to yourself that these are difficult times and this is the best I can do right now. And let me work towards, upliftment of myself and also my company and also the customers I'm serving.
I was going through and also understand that you ran a couple of businesses, started up, sell it off. And in any business, I'm sure there have been crises that you had to overcome. So usually when a crisis happens, whether it's a COVID-19, a financial crisis, what would be the crucial things a leader of an organization should do to turn around the situation?
If you look at my career, I've seen a lot of ups and downs. I've seen some really good times where we sailed in terms of product development, in terms of adding new customers, adding revenue. So it was some wonderful years. And I've seen really bad times also, like a lot of ups and downs. So especially in the bad times, what I do is that I try to kind of re-strategize. What is the present situation? How can I adapt and use my abilities in this scenario to kind of give out the best? Now best means that you kind of need to understand how you can really evolve in the present situation. Try to understand that how do I get out of this. So one is you strategize, you make a big plan, but you break it down into short milestones and you work towards those milestones in order of priority. And I made some short plans. I didn't make long plans. Let's say if I am able to do this for next 1 month, I'll be able to get the product out. If I'm able to survive for 2 months, I need this kind of a cash flow. Then I'll be able to initiate so many sales and marketing activities. If I'm able to do XYZ HR activities and kind of keep the team together for 4 months, that will impact my cash flow in a different way. And I'll be back to normal. So there might be 5 milestones, but which are the top ones which you need to take first? You complete those and immediately skip to the next milestone. It's like hip hopping, right? And that's how you get out of a problem, come to normalcy, and from normalcy, again, you accelerate. So those are the kind of situations I face. I didn't try to isolate myself. I always spoke to many people. What's the best way to get out of it? And luckily, I was always supported by a good team. There's a saying there, tough times don't last, but tough men do. Yeah. So especially in these times, it's very important you communicate, you brainstorm, you try to speak to the other person, like what's happening and what is the present situation. Like I make it a point that whatever I'm doing, I do communicate it with my board members, because just to get an idea that am I going in the right direction. Similar ways, I do make it a point that I always try to communicate once or talk to my team members just to get an understanding. How are you doing? What's your plan? What are the things you're working on? Sometimes it's very difficult for a team to kind of assimilate what they need to do in such a situation, especially the millennials, because maybe this is the first time they are facing something like this. A situation where, the world is going through a lockdown, the businesses are slowing down, everybody is doing a wait and watch. So communication and hand-holding and motivating your team is one of the most important things right now. In the present scenario also, like COVID, the situation we are in, I'm extremely lucky to be part of a team like Disprz, where we're so close to each other. We understand each other's problems. We understand where the company is heading. So we are very close to the co-founders. That's why we are able to connect with them, speak to them openly. And that's where we are able to build our own plans, which in turn connect to their plans. And that's how the organization, gets out of a situation like that. Hi, Janet.
Yeah. Hi. So it's been some time, about a month, since we actually had that conversation.
Actually, I've forgotten a lot of the things which I had spoken. Go over it.
So we actually have a question ready from Andal. Andal is saying, what is it with Army and entrepreneurship, because she has so many associates who were ex-Army guys?
Got it. Right. So just to answer that question, one is, in Army from a very young age, you take on very higher kind of responsibilities. Because like when I was a captain, I was 20, but I was managing 120 people or 120 plus people. So imagine a 20-year-old young person managing 120 people in a very difficult situation. Like, you're in some, you're in a counterinsurgency kind of environment. You are somewhere in the borders where where weather is very tough on you, where you have literally it's life and death, right? So, but you're able to nurture yourself and train yourself under such situations, that's the reason you get trained for some hardships in life. Like entrepreneurship is all about going through a very, very difficult time. It's never going to be easy. All the people who think about starting companies, they think that in 2 years we're going to achieve this. But trust me, it takes minimum 3 years to even, get to a normalcy. So you need to be tough enough to handle such situations. That's one which you get from definitely by serving in the army. Second is you become a great team player. One thing I've really learned from army is that how you are a very, very good team player and an asset to the organization. In the normal corporate scenario, I do feel that there are exceptional performers. There are very intelligent people around. But as far as being a good team person or a team member is concerned, really you get trained for that, and you start not only believing in your abilities but believing in your your colleagues or your peers and your seniors' abilities. And the third thing is the comfort. See, that's a very practical point of it. So most of the army guys, some of them leave army at a very young age, like me, who have to start from scratch. But a lot of army people do leave army after 20 years, after getting a pensionable service. That means they come with a lot of experience. They come with a lot of skills in terms of managing teams, working on high-end projects. And third is they have the social or the financial stability, where they have a pension coming in and stuff. So you have two kinds. One is the young guys who of course are used to managing tough times, and you have the experienced guys who really have gone through this learning journey and who are financially capable to take such risks.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Vineet, so let's switch gears a little bit, because I think before the episode itself, we were chatting about what are the industries that were generally actually pivoting and going online, going digital in terms of their transformation very, very fast. And two of the industries that you mentioned was banking and insurance. Could you share a little bit about, from the perspective of connectivity, how have they actually gone on this digital journey right now?
See, earlier, if you want to do business with a bank or an insurance company, they follow very strict processes, like procurement processes, vendor, selection, and finally awarding the contract. So normally, a time frame to close a bank as a customer is something close to 6 months to a year for any kind of a digital learning product, because they do a very very thought over decision. But right now, because of the COVID times, I feel that they are looking for tools to manage the workforce connectivity issues, manage the learning issues, or even getting the employees to the next level where they need to work in a very different way. So that's where they're very open, or they're very open to kind of talking to vendors, adopting such solutions, and actually implementing them, where earlier maybe there was not that kind of a business use case, but now it's there. So that's the kind of industry which I feel they are the first ones who are moving. At least I see in Southeast Asia, like in countries like Myanmar, Cambodia, Indonesia, even Malaysia and Thailand, banks and insurance companies are really taking some big steps in terms of digitizing and getting used to this new way. Now there are other industries which are really catching up. Let's not talk about the banks and these big boys or the Fortune 500 companies. You look at training and consulting companies. Most of our training and consulting partners have really been super agile. To my surprise, they have really evolved themselves within not matter of months, within matter of days, and they have come out with some breakthrough solutions, like moving their complete physical training piece to digital in a blended way and delivering the same kind of quality. And that's really impressive, because they've got used to this new way. They're trying to take the level of delivery to a completely new, innovative and interactive, and still achieve the same kind of a standard. So that's those are few players who have really evolved.
Right. So actually, what happens is, I think we were chatting as well earlier on that a lot of the training in consultancy and business communications actually went to Zoom and Slack. If let's say they are looking at project management, how are they actually utilizing the AI capability development system that you have to actually do the blended learning that you are mentioning?
Yeah, see, Zoom has been extremely popular. It's a business communication tool. So like we all can have a great meeting on Zoom, or multiple people can join in, but primarily a business tool. Now when you talk about companies with big workforces, like banks having 5,000 more employees, insurance companies on an average 1,000 plus employees, and that too most of their employees are insurance agents. So they are like they're really not the employees who come daily to office. They're scattered. So companies like this look at our solutions, Disprz, in a very different way. They're right now looking at it as a workforce connectivity solution, which actually builds the basic communication line between the core head office and this scattered distributed workforce. One. Second is they're looking at Disprz as a solution to reskill or get the employees trained to this new ways of managing the business situation, which has been changed due to COVID. Like I gave you the example of selling. Everybody is used to selling by an in-person meeting, right? But now maybe you have to get used to selling the virtual way. That means you have to be really good at webinars. You have to be very impressive when you make a phone call. Earlier maybe that was not important. And third is the processes. A lot of processes will change. Like if you take a restaurant chain, maybe the way they used to serve a customer before would be different. Right from the front end, like the hygiene levels will go to another level, another standard. The kitchen has to be managed in a different way. So all these are changes where our solution Disprz fits in very well. And the AI part of it actually kind of understands what kind of an employee you are and what are the trainings you are going through, and it kind of recommends you more informative material to make it better. Like AI scrolls the web and recommends you latest articles on what banks are doing, some McKinsey articles on what is it that's happening in project management. Let's say if you're an operations person and you're doing a project management role, so that's the kind of role AI plays, where it reduces the dependency on the HR team to give knowledge in a very different way, in a very evolved way, which is hands-on knowledge, what is happening in the outside world. And also it scrolls the internal content and gives you learning related to your role, which is available at the with the company, but somehow has not been, it has just not reached you.
Right. Thanks. So now maybe we switch gears back a little bit to how do you switch your mindset? I think what are your motivations, for example, when you decided to go from a corporate role to then start your own business, and then now you're back into the corporate role again. So, and what impetus would it be before you decide to actually probably start your own business one more time?
It's it's something which you always think about, that okay, I envisage to walk on this path and do XYZ. But a lot of people do it, but it's also the circumstances, how they come together, and you kind of accept them and decide to do something. Like I was very happy being vice president of a tech startup for which I had set up the Latin America office. I was at a good location in Brazil, and I was managing the business in a very nice way. So I was very happy with it. But suddenly some things changed in my life, where one of my friends who was from US and who said that, hey Vineet, I have this great idea, why don't we work on this? Right now the delivery is this, the delivery can be X plus Y, which is a more evolved way of uh, impacting the school education markets, because my first startup was on the school education side. So I kind of accepted those ideas. I said, wow, these are some great ideas, but the next question is, how do you do it? And that's where you decide. At some point you have to decide that I want to do it. That is the most important decision you take. And of course you need to plan in a way that you are able to sail through that journey. You should not get you should not lose your momentum in between, or kind of end up at a place where you're kind of not only impacting yourself, but you're impacting others who are working with you. So a startup has to be a very planned way. So that's how I decided to do that in back in 2011 when I started my own company. But of course, my friend was a key influencer who kind of built the confidence in me that we can do it. And then when we started the company, we slowly realized that okay, now it doesn't look that difficult. When you get the product out, when you have your first 3 customers, and slowly when the revenues come in, you get a lot of confidence, and slowly you feel that the big companies start speaking to you. They start seeing the value in your business and the products, and that's where it takes your company to another level. But my always what I would like to say is that always keep 3 years for a startup. So right now also with Disprz also, uh, I started the business in Southeast Asia, but I always given me 3 years timeline. Like the first year of operations was super difficult in business, and in Southeast Asia we were at a revenue of $40,000. But in 2018, in 2019 we are like close to $1 million. So 2020 would have been even better. But because of this COVID times, now we'll have to re-strategize, see where we are going. So give it. My advice is, first, take a decision that you want to do it. Second is, plan and administer yourself properly so that you are there for this 3-year journey, because nothing is going to happen before 3 years. And then finally, execute that.
Right. Thanks. For those who join a little later, we have Mr. Vineet Koka with us, who was or just now sharing actually his entrepreneurial journey, what was the mindset and all those. And if you came in a little later, don't worry, we have recorded this session, so you can actually rewatch his notes as well as his suggestions and the industries that are impacted and has moved on digitally. So while we are waiting some more for more questions to come in, Vineet, I would like to just check with you. With this current situation, a lot of people who are not familiar with digital, who are probably very specialized in their areas and have not really gone on this digital journey, but with this current situation, they have no choice but to move forward. What are the 3 key important mindsets or skill sets they need to pick up in order to be able to first survive in this and then thrive later on?
Yeah. So I think so. The first key thing is, acceptance to change. That's a very big skill set. A lot of people need to build now. That you need to accept the fact that you have to go through a change, because every change is a painstaking process. It's not going to happen easily. That today I decided I'm going to change everything, and from after a month, everything changes. Right? One. Second is, when you look at this change which you want to really do, don't try to do too much together. So you need to have a very a great aptitude and attitude towards planning and organizing. Planning how you want to do this change, and slowly organizing your teams to evolve and accept this change. Let's say you can't change your complete business model overnight. You have to slowly change it. Like if you take the example of training and consulting firms, what they are doing, they're slowly changing. They're saying that okay, everything cannot go online at a time, but it can be a blended approach. Classroom can be reduced, webinars can be increased. So they're doing it in a planned way, and they're organizing themselves for this change. Organization involves having a team which can manage this change, having the financial budget to kind of get this kind of digital resources. Third is, training yourself to implement this change. So second is the planning and organizing. And the last one is, of course, ensuring that you have some benchmarks, like industry benchmarks of what this change will do for you, like which has been done by some other company. So you need to put those benchmarks in place and ensure that you kind of work towards it and achieve it. There's like that, this has to be done, right? So that's benchmarks and proliferating the best practices of seeing what's happening in the industry. So the three skills which I feel definitely which are needed is, acceptance to a change, being agile, being innovative in agreeing to change. One. Second is planning and organizing. That's a big thing. You just can't change overnight. You need to plan it, and you need to organize yourself for this change. And third is keep some benchmarks, or you can say key result areas. Like if I do 1 and 2, this is what I want to achieve in terms of a benchmark. It could be a benchmark again, which maps you to a equivalent company which did this and it was successful. It could be a financial benchmark, like you change your business and you are able to get back to a normalized revenue stream. So you need to have some benchmarks there.
Right. Thanks. So earlier on, you also mentioned that there's a lot of interest from the learning and connectivity perspective from Cambodia, Myanmar, Indonesia, as well as Malaysia. So I'm actually quite curious, which areas these companies started off first? Because I think if we are talking about large organizations, it's difficult to immediately transit. So in what area did they usually find it easiest and they will start off actually going into this digital journey besides the usual business communication via Zoom or the virtual platforms?
Great. So in terms of areas where they'll immediately start this transformation is, one is ensuring that solutions like ours are implemented well in the organization. Like you communicate to the employees that there is a solution like this available. There is something known as work groups inside us, and you can be part of this work group and you can communicate, you can share proposals, you can share ideas, and that's how you can start working on that, right? So it could be as simple as just targeting the communication piece, which has got affected now. I'm talking about communication groups inside, not a communication of a Zoom or a webinar based communication, right? First is that. Second is you saw that a lot of companies really evolved to solutions like Zoom or even our live solution, Disprz live solution, because they immediately understood that this is the need of the hour. You could no more travel. You could no more do trainings physically. So that's why a tool like this is very beneficial. So you're taking small steps. One is you just started using this, got everyone onto the system, build these work groups. Second is you started doing the next level of training or communication using the webinar solution. And third is now you slowly start pushing the e-learning and stuff, like a self-paced modules on something very standard or very basic in these times, like working in COVID times. There could be a great module on this topic which you can go through and correlate with it, that how am I supposed to work effectively, connecting it what the organization is asking you to do in terms of your performance, having the next module or the new standards or what is new that is happening in industry. So like this you slowly evolve, and that's how the companies are taking it. Like when we did implementations in Indonesia, Myanmar, it's not that day one they say, okay, it's artificial intelligence which starts driving everything. So it's you slowly adopt the solution, because I'm talking about companies who are 15,000 employees and above in Indonesia, and I'm talking about companies which are as small as 200 employee insurance company. So they have their own journeys of how they adopt to these solutions.
I see. Thank you, Vineet. So right now, I'm going to hide you for a little while to share actually the page on how they can find out more information about yourself. Sure. Then we'll come back again.
Done. Sure.
So similarly, like all the previous episodes, you can come into Effective Asian Leadership and click on the page Leadership During Crisis to view all the various different episodes. And from here, basically, you can scroll down to see Vineet's episodes today. And when you click on the episode itself, it will show basically the video. If you miss the interview episode, you can watch it from here, the clearer version, or I'll be actually updating with the live Q&A. Click on this particular button as well. And then read more about Vineet as well as Disprz, which he mentioned a little earlier, and understand what that platform is. So generally speaking, it's actually when we're looking at digital strategies itself, it's not just business communication. There's also the connectivity in terms of the learning, as well as work groups like he mentioned. So I think you probably will find out a little bit more there. And for these particular series in Leadership During Crisis, because there are many videos, we have actually uploaded it into our learning platform called learning.corporatetrainerconnect.com. You can come into this particular system and look at some of the various programs. And on Leadership During Crisis, it's still free. You can actually just click on it to sign up and be able to access all the videos. In total, we are actually looking at a total of 30 videos, although now we are actually at episode 10, so that you have a space and a location where you can basically find all the videos that goes by the various categories later on. So now let me come back to Vineet. Hi, Vineet.
Hi, Janet. Yeah.
Hi. So thanks again for your time. Andal said thank you for your answer. Thank you for sharing on the latest that's happening actually in the e-learning portion in the corporate world, especially in Southeast Asia. So we'll catch up again later on. And goodbye to everyone. Thank you for taking your time to watch this episode, premiere and live Q&A with us. Goodbye.
Thanks, Janet. Thanks, Handel and everyone. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.